The old, the young, the rich, the poor, the black and the white, all adults are never fulfilled until they find out who they are. None. And we all are searching. You must be comfortable in your own skin. So there are two critical mistakes that I found that young people have made over the years. Just two. Number one, you don't know who they are, so you experiment and you mess up. And ultimately, you have no peace. And secondly, you kind of do a little bit of what I did. You climb the ladder of success until you realize one day the ladder is leaning up against the wrong wall. And then you either come crashing down or you have to come back down and start over. Anybody been there? So my story is a very interesting story in a sense that although you've heard the young man who read my credentials, that's not the full story of who I am. That's what you hear now, but that's not the process of which I experienced. Yeah, I graduated first back in '89. I came home bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, went after fame and fortune, went after the social life, thought that life was about peer pressure and competing and yearning for more, not to realize that something was still not quite right. Something Greg was missing. Something I was not quite comfortable with. Yes, I too was on that ladder of success, but I realized I was leaning on the wrong wall. As the Bible tells us, what good it is for a man to gain the whole world and lose his very soul. So today, it appears by the world standards that you have heard tonight that I've accomplished much. And yes, on paper I have. But my most important accomplishment that I am most proud of is that by God's grace, I am here alive. I am the husband of one wife. I am the father of 3 begotten children. And I am the son of a true and living God. So the answer for young people is a simple one. What is this really all about? What is life really all about? And I say to you, it's a simple word. It's called self-discovery. Know thyself. To thyself be true. Because that involves a building of character, having inner peace, and having a true sense of value and purpose. In fact, for young people, Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist, said this. He said, it's easy to build children than to repair a broken man. Because children are moldable. You could learn. Your eyes are open. You can see. You ask questions. Train up a child in the way he should go. And when they get old, they will not depart from it. These are important scriptural principles that worked then and still work now. So when we are all in pursuit of success, fulfillment, happiness, and peace, it will never happen until you discover yourself. So one time ago, I was just like you, young people. Many of you here are the millennials, the millennium generation. And there's something that says WIIFM, what's in it for me? And you have your concerns and you have your aspirations. You want to know about money. How much money are you going to make? You may have some fears. Are you going to have an opportunity for education, your future, access, and what challenges are around the corner? Well, let me tell you some of the challenges that I found in my research with young people. This thing called technology, this is a double-edged sword. This thing called technology, when you look at it, researchers have found that the messages that come through this phone, this computer in essence, because of the message is filtered, because there's a disconnect in distance between the connectivity of a person eye to eye, voice to voice. We believe what we read, but not understanding the heart of the person we're connecting to. I'll tell you what I mean by that. In essence, the Facebook messages that you get are instant, but they're not real. Although you could swipe your card and everything seems instant, it's a superficial existence. The word friends, quote unquote, have a new meaning. So when you befriend someone on Facebook and after a while you call them your friend, I'm here to tell you tonight, they're not your friend. That is not your friend. And what has happened is the millennials over the years now have looked at that friendship, have placed a value on that friendship, and when they're unfriended, all of a sudden they feel like they're going to die. And as a result of this, you have gotten this excitement that comes in your head that every time you're on this phone and you're working it, a chemical is released in the brain called dopamine that it's a part of your addictive experience. So what has happened is this thing that's supposed to be used to make our life simpler and more edifying has in fact, we have become slaves and addicts to the cell phone. So we become high on this fantasy of what we see in the cell phone and what it tells us. Alcoholism and drug abuse has increased among young people because of what they're experiencing on the cell phone. Texting has become now sexting, when it becomes explicit information and graphic images transported in cyberspace. This is real. Parents, these are your children. And children, this is what you are experiencing. Secondly, parents of millennials. And I believe I fit into that category in terms of my age and the age of my children. I have a daughter, 26, a son, 22, and another daughter who's 9. And what we have teaching many of our children is we're giving them a strange and unique sense of entitlement that wasn't there when Greg Moss and Kendal Major and even Peter were children. We didn't have a sense of entitlement. But the parents today are creating this sense of entitlement in our children. As a result, they've become selfish, greedy, and lack focus. They want to make a difference, though. Something is burning in their heart because they're searching, but they don't know how, and they don't know why. Free things they receive, but they're still not happy. Your parents tell you you're special, and it's your world, but you haven't earned it. So you end up becoming spoiled brats, and the eventuality is low self-esteem and a challenge coping with the stresses of today. And then thirdly, the environment. And from where I sit as a member of parliament, and I have an opportunity to interview persons on a daily basis almost, persons who are seeking jobs, seeking some level of employment, seeking some opportunity. And one of the interesting things I find with young people, with the millenniums today, is this misunderstanding of how to conduct themselves in a corporate environment. As simple as how to dress for an interview, how to prepare yourself, how to conduct yourself, what your email address ought to look like and sound like. Not junglenasty@hotmail.com or speaklips@gmail.com. But I see it all the time. And this has become this is almost endemic now in our country. The language and how we communicate through these phones, it's not the English that I know. And I understand there's something called shorthand, but what we do is we have to know how to break that shorthand when it's appropriate in the corporate environment. So ultimately, there's a word that I want to share with you that's called emotional intelligence. And many of the millennials today lack emotional intelligence, which is essentially recognizing and understanding how to manage their emotions based on the input-output. How do they conduct themselves and determine and make judgments of what to do and how to do it. So in essence, most of them overreact, get angry, get frustrated, walk out. They have no resilience, no stickability. They just pout and moan and walk away. By the way, it's not their fault, it's our fault. So they give up easily, they're frustrated, they abuse their body and their minds. So the question is then, well, what is success? What really is success? Because it's a dream that we all search for. And many of us walk around in our minds and some understanding of what success is. How do you know if you're successful? Young people want to know that. I would venture to say success is really a process. It's a phase, it's a condition. But really, in essence, is a completion. It's unique to you and a completion of what you ought to do with the potential that you have. So in essence, you are competing not with John or Jane, but with yourself. The measure in which you complete that process is and ought to be a measure of success. So it's no comparison to others. It's a comparison with self. That's an important distinction because it teaches you not to compete with others, and it teaches you how to become comfortable in your own skin and recognize that you were born uniquely for a purpose.
It's a beautiful day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When trouble seems to rain on my dreams, it's not a big deal. Let it wash all the bugs off my windshield, 'cause you're showing me that